Hi everyone, very nice to see you today. I'm really happy you're all here, so we're going to be starting today. On the first day of the fair, I am very, very pleased and honored to spend the next hour in your company and that of these five gentlemen. I'm Clio Godrèche, I'm part of the FHH, I'm a senior manager for the FHH, and I will be your host for the next hour. So let's dive into the subject and Gen Z. Hi. There's a 2024 report from a Bain & Company that found that Gen Z consumers, those born between 1997 and 2012, they are the first generation of what we call digital native. They will account for nearly a third of luxury purchases by 2030. While millennials about 50%. And also a McKinsey report from also 2024 found that 72% of Generation Z prefer to spend money on brands that are authentic in their communication, and 83% of Gen Z which prefer brands that align with their values. These 2 points we're going to kind of verify with these gentlemen, and we'll see how we move forward. I think this is the main point of the consumer shift. So with me, by my side, I'm very excited to
Have we got the right names in front of us?
It's going to be really fun, you'll see. I have Justin Hast. So Justin started his career as a content creator in the UK, working with highly reputable brands such as IWC, Vacheron Constantin, Langer, and then he evolved towards more journalistic jobs like writing jobs, and he wrote for the likes of Hodinkee, Revolution, and Monochrome watches. He's a sucker for design and métier d'art. On his right, Maxime Courturier. Well, Maxime, no, it's not the right order. So Maxime Courturier has been with the FHH for a few years. Actually, he started his career as a trend analyst, especially in fashion and FMCG, consumer goods. He started working as an external art director for the FHH about 5 years ago. And 2 years ago, he launched the agency APRESDEMAIN, which is an agency mainly working with the watchmakers, and also published High Stout, which is a print magazine, which is quite different from what you usually see in watch print magazines. On his right, Maxime, Lorenzo, usually it's supposed to be the other way around. Lorenzo Maillard. So Lorenzo and Maxime founded both the APRESDEMAIN agency. Lorenzo is hailing from a very famous family in watchmaking, but yes, it is famous. Yes, it's a very famous the name in watchmaking, from a watchmaking family, and this is not where they didn't push him to work in watchmaking. He developed his own passion of watching from an early age, like 14 years old. And he joined FHH right after his hospitality business school, and he spent 5 years there being one of the foundation wax experts. And then he met Maxime at FHH, and after a few years, they decided to found the agency, and we're really happy to have them. Marc-Henri, on the right of Lorenzo. So Marc-Henri is French, but he spent the last 10 years in London. Marc-Henri has a background in high fashion. He's a prominent photographer, and he made a name for himself by taking pictures during the fashion weeks, street style and background picture with a unique perspective. And now he's moving towards acting. So that's his new endeavor. And on his right, Nicolas Amsellem. So Nicolas started working at Les Rhabilleurs almost 10 years ago after finishing his master's in business. He's now the director of the online publication. And on the side, he also leads an expertise company for watches. And he's truly driven by knowledge. So thank you. I'm happy to welcome them.
He is. He is.
So we'll dive right in. I was telling you there was a kind of shift in consumer behavior, and I would like to know, from their perspective, what do they like in watches? What do they find interesting, and what attracts them? So, Justin, can you tell us more?
Me. Don't come to me first, please. Can you repeat the question?
Okay, so they made a point of trying to play with me during the panel, but he knew already. I sent him. He knew he was going to be first. So, yes, Justin.
Well, guys, look, thanks for having me. This is the first time I've been to the fair, and it's really exciting, really exciting.
Yeah.
Big anniversary year, and a lot of my colleagues and friends here that I've got to know over the years. So it's a real treat to be on the stage with you guys. What is it about watchmaking? It's unlike anything else. It's unlike any other industry in the world. It's got real magic at its core, and the storytelling aspect is magical for us on the media side because it's just an endless opportunity to be more creative, I think. And I'm extremely excited about the next generation coming through because they are very much connected to the idea of having less but better in everything that they engage with in their lives. So, yeah, that's fundamentally why I love watches, I'd say. I like many, my story goes back to inheriting a watch from my grandfather, which was very important, who I never knew, but I had his watch as a memory of him. So it's unlike anything else. It's unlike anything else.
So, but you're a very design and techniques-oriented person when it comes to liking a watch. This is what you see prominently when you're attracted to a watch? Is this, that's what you were telling me last time.
I think
How do you come to that?
Yeah, anyone who's had the opportunity to see watchmakers in action, meeting enamelists, meeting finishers of movements, recognize just the magic that they produce. And it's hard not to fall in love with that once you see it. And so for me, watches at scale are not particularly interesting, but watches when it really is heart and soul being poured into something, that's really interesting, especially for something that we don't need in our lives. We desperately don't need watches in our lives. And to see someone really spend their life committed to making it beautiful, that's where it's at for me.
Yes, and I think Nicolas as well. You were telling me earlier that this is what really attracts you, the technicity and the design, and most of all the technicity, and that's why you specialize in knowledge, and you're also giving classes at our school in Paris.
Yes, I'm giving classes in Paris, and you see that people, they don't know how a watch is designed, how a watch works. So going back to the past, like the 17th century, the 16th century, the very beginning of watches is very important for me to understand the techniques because I love designs, but I love the techniques, I love the complications, the complicated movements, and sometimes things that you are not able to see at the very beginning. So yes, for me, techniques is the most important to elevate people's art in watchmaking, I would say.
So when you look at a watch, you go straight to the techniques, and do you go back to the history? Is this something you want, or first you look at the design and then the technicity?
Of course, the first thing is the technicity. But then if you open the watch, like I'm doing sometimes when I'm doing some expertise, you open the watch and you understand things, especially when you're looking to watches from the 17th century, 18th century, when you have a repeating mechanism hidden inside, or a tourbillon, or yes, many other complications. I love to discover this, but before, the only thing is the design first.
I know Lorenzo. I know that he also was very design-oriented. How did you come to love watches, and what was your process? You talked to us about flea markets and going back to history. Can you tell us a little bit more about this?
I think what's interesting in this watch world is that we all have different routes that we take in regards of collecting and getting into this watch industry. But I think what is interesting to my point of view is more about the unexpected, the stories behind it. It's something that we hear a lot from brands, but I think it's actually really true, is going back to what makes this product so particular and this wide variety of products. It's a small industry. There's a lot of actors as well, but if you compare to other industries, it's pretty small. But still, you have a lot of variety, and vintage is definitely one of the most interesting entry points to my eyes first, because it was of course more accessible in terms of prices. Now it has changed a bit, but you can still find watches for interesting prices. And as well, in terms of design and all these pieces that are unexpected or things that you don't usually see, or that goes against the grain from traditional product that we hear and see a lot in watch communication. So it's more about the ingenuity and the difference in design and something a bit unique, strange. It could be ugly as well. Ugly is interesting. It's an interesting
ugly
topic.
Watches.
Ugly watch is an interesting topic as well. So yeah, I would say, yeah, the unusual, definitely.
Yeah, you said that when you like a watch, what's very interesting was that you try not to take into consideration the brand, or you just try to see at a very neutral point. Can you tell us more?
I think it's Justin mentioned it. It's a product that is not really useful anymore. So it's about passion. It's about telling a story, but not in a commercial marketing way, but more about the real story behind it. So definitely, it's not a question of, I mean, to my eyes, again, I'm just speaking for myself, but it's not a question of brands. I mean, people try to categorize watches with brands and types of product, but I think the most interesting part is the product itself and what it tells, regardless of the prices.
Yeah, very interesting. Marc-Henri?
Yes.
Yes.
What does attract you in a watch? Because you have a different profile from those here on stage, which I feel is very interesting because you have your own point of view and you develop your own. What does attract you in a watch when you look at a watch?
Well, I can actually kind of like my friend here. Mm-hmm. It's really about the design too. Like the first things who make you want this watch or think like maybe, I want to give interest to this and not to another one, is going to be like the beauty of it for you. As a photographer, you obviously develop this idea, your own idea of beauty, and you choose to capture it sometimes or not. And I think I have the same way to get into watches. Let's say I always saw watches because obviously my dad had one, and you can see, ad everywhere. It's like the first step to luxury. And you don't really know how to get into it. You only think that it's not reachable, and it's something maybe, I'm gonna get there only if I got hella money and things like this. And then you realize that, like you say, that with vintage and all these things and going different places, and you can look for it in flea markets and all these kind of things, and you discover a way of finding it who get really natural to you and really attached to your own self, and not just to the fact that I need to have one just to have one, but you want to have the one who is for you, really. Yeah. So I think he came with obviously the beauty, because we're still human, so obviously you get attracted to something you find beautiful and or interesting, because even if she can be ugly, can be voilà. So I think that's the way for me where I get there, and then you add the natural attachment, the personal attachment with, like, maybe it's a watch, or like you say, like your grandpa watch or something like this, and you want it because you have a story with it. So I think that's the way I get into.
I really like your point about breaking barriers, and this is exactly, I think, where Maxime came into watchmaking. The barriers of luxury in general. Can you tell us more, Maxime?
I think what Marc-Henri said about the fact that it's really impressive, it's an impressive world, and a lot of people are actually afraid to get attached to watches. It was the same for me. I was always I always liked fashion. I like to express myself with the way I look, so fashion is quite easy to access, but watches is like this big thing that's complex and that's expensive, so you're like, how do I get to like watches? Can I become a watch guy? There is some kind of a barrier, so to me it was interesting. And then when I came into this world, you actually realize that there are so many entry points that you can get, and also that maybe there was missing one. So that's what we do with the FHH and the account Watches and Culture, was exactly that. How we can talk about watches in a maybe more easy and accessible way. And then I think you find an object that is interesting to you, design-wise, at least that's how I approach things. And then you start to get into the history, the stories behind them, and you see how you can write your own story with the object. And when you meet with your friends and with people that are interesting to the object, you can relate to it, tell a story that's maybe different, and you actually meet a lot of people. I think we forget, but watches is like, there are so many people that are interested in it, and super interesting ones. So Yeah.
I think that's raising a very interesting point, and I think this is what also the new consumers, because we're talking about a lot about Gen Z, and I think all the people on stage will agree with me. It's not only Gen Z, because the young who coming to the market, of course, but we cannot put aside the newcomers, the new collectors, whatever age they are. Do you agree? Justin, for instance, I know you went through a more, I'm sorry for the name, but traditional way. You're going to creating content, working with already well-established brands or well-established publication. Do you feel you can support what Maxime has been saying about today having a different point of view in the writing and in the storytelling as well, like breaking barriers? Is something that you feel as well?
Yeah, no, I'm deeply passionate. I mean, I've experienced it in the last couple of years with friends who initially thought, what the hell do you do for your work? You take photos of watches, you do films on watches. What is this? This is not a world I know. And slowly but surely they've come out the woodwork saying, I'd quite like a watch one day, or my wife's getting married, I'd love to get her a watch, or it's a birthday. And so watches should be for everyone, irrelevant of price and irrelevant of brand, irrelevant. And that's one of the barriers, and that is the barrier that I think we all jointly agree that we're trying to break down, is that you shouldn't ever have to walk into a boutique and feel that you're not welcome there because you haven't spent a certain amount to be able to try on a new watch. So that is one of the challenges that we face. That's one of the challenges we face. But the exciting thing is that inherently watches have this sustainability aspect to them. They've got this storytelling aspect to them. They've got this design aspect to them. And they've got this personal expression aspect to them that for me, leave them in good stead for the future. I think the future is exciting for people for brands, for watch brands, for those like us in the watch media. But of course, it needs to be more. It needs to be more welcoming. It shouldn't be a place that talks about price. I can think of a brand immediately that send an email quite frequently about a new product, and they lead in the subject title with the price. This is $1 million plus. And it's like, what are we talking about, guys? Let's talk about something that's actually important here. That's not important. that's irrelevant, and it's alienating others. So, watches should be for everyone. That's my sense.
Yeah, that's great. And talking about brands and what they're doing, and then maybe talking about the reverse, what consumers today are expecting of brands. Do you have any, not advice, but do you feel like brands should do something different? Anyone? Marc-Henri, for instance? Should change?
Let's say, obviously, brands use a lot social media. What is like something you can't avoid right now when you speak of marketing or commercial things. And obviously, COVID kind of did his job to push the brand to put everything on it, to make everything quicker, and kind of fill the gap of what COVID did. But now we can see that it's kind of, maybe we should slow down a little bit and go deeper in what we want to give to people. It's a little bit what the guys do with this idea of if you bring the actual culture of it and not just the product, and like you say, in putting a mail like and this is the price, and actually create a real link and create something personal for the next customer, it's way more smart, I think, and where it's this whole idea, or even if you can't have it now, you can still be part of it. So you can understand what it is, you can come, you can touch it, you can dream of it really and put it as a goal, like a real goal, and not just like I want it just because it's a things of to show that I succeed in life, but is more I want it because I understand it and because I have a relation with it. So when I'm gonna have the money for it, I'm gonna go for this. I think it's way more smart and way more like even healthy for everyone actually. So
I like what you said because I understand it. You understand the technique you have this way. I know that Nicolas told me that he wants to bring knowledge to his clients and to his readers because he wants them to make the right choice. I know this is what you're doing right now, and also Nicolas has been touring France for some retailers. What do you feel like it's missing from the brand's point of view, brand side?
I think nowadays when you want to buy something, it can be like a piece of clothes, it can be a car, it can be a watch. You want to be friend with the guy or the girl, like selling it to you. And that's the new way of consuming. You don't like the cold impression of a watch boutique. In Paris, when we are young, we are like used to go to this boutique, but it was very cold. You are not buying anything. You are just there to see the product and to have some more information, of course. But nowadays we've seen like new actors coming, like small merchants developing. We know a few friends selling vintage watches. And you want to be friends with these people because they are nice to you, they are authentic to you. They don't want to screw you up. They just want to bring the nice product to you, explaining things. And if you don't buy this watch in particular, maybe you will buy another one. But it's like it's friendly and it's very easy to do. It's natural. And I think these newcomers have set the example for all the big boutiques all over the world. And I think they are just going to change these boutiques in the future and be like more attractive to customers, like more small boutiques rather than big mall, etc. I think so.
And Maxime, you told me that you can also expand on it, that it's better nowadays for brands to attract the 5% that are really into watches than the 95% that are, you know, the more mainstream, looking for more quality over quantity. Can you develop a little bit more?
Yeah, I think so. Brands should have like a clear focus or at least a clear story, and they should try to push in a way that's like meaningful to their DNA, their story, and trying to push in what's contemporary. I mean, marketing is a super great tool, but sometimes we just try to do the perfect products for so many people, and like then it doesn't touch anyone. I think especially watches, that's like a super emotional object, so you need to feel something when you see it. So I think you should like discuss 95% of people and have like 5% that are really diehard fan of what you do. And actually, once you have that storytelling, then people will start to come to your brand, the 5% that are left, let's say. And then you create something with those 5 people and you create a community around it. It's so much more meaningful. And to Marc-Henri's point, I think it's where you can then gather those people and show them the watches, because the watches, like pictures, they're amazing. Most of the time, they're perfect, but you need to see a watch. So I think it's like trying to attract them. They should meet them, and then they should see together the product and emulate from it.
In fairness, we have seen a few brands like Vacheron, like AP. AP, to be fair, were pretty much the first movers on saying, hey, is the environment we're selling in right? Should we think about changing it?
Yeah.
And now it's much more about hospitality than it is about retail.
True.
And that's been a positive change in my mind. Just as a shift that
No, it's good.
recognize.
Yes, Marc-Henri?
Because like we obviously focusing on Gen Z things, blah blah. It's really a thing who gets really big with this generation is this feeling of being the center of the attention of the thing. So it's not just they don't want to be numbers. They want to feel like this project is for me. You're doing it for me. I want to be part of something that is really addressed to me, not just to my money.
Yeah.
So it's way more smart to have this sense of community. For example, during the Olympic Games, we can say brand, right? Yeah, we can say the brand, right?
Yeah, for sure. Yeah.
Omega did like a big things during Olympic Games with big community, and all the time people could come at the house and just chill at the house, not even watch, but just be here, eat everything, and he bring like this sense of community, and he put in your mind this idea of I'm part of something with them. So when I'm gonna think of this, I'm gonna go with the one I feel more close to, and I feel like. Especially that the first approach to me wasn't like, okay, can you buy it? It's just like, no, just come with us, and and this mindset changed, I think, a lot with this generation on.
Yeah, I see, Lorenzo, that you approved of Marc-Henri, and there's something very interesting that you said about. Authenticity, and can you develop a little bit more? And also, it was authenticity mostly, and what brands really need to focus on for the.
It's a bit paradoxical because it's a word that you can see all across watch brands' marketing campaigns.
Yeah.
Authenticity is key in all brands, but at the end of the day, we kind of lost the meaning of authenticity, and that's probably relating back to the history of luxury watches as well. The quartz crisis in the 70s kind of destroyed the industry, and it got rebooted in some ways by the luxury aspect of it all, who pushed for really high-end pieces and this dream of luxury, exclusiveness, and so on. And I think we're arriving to a shift in generations, but it's not only about generations, it's also a shift in luxury throughout different industries, but watches, of course. And this shift is really important because the next generations of buyers are really thinking of how to approach this product and not the brands necessarily in a different way, being welcomed, as you mentioned, and also this no bullshit approach is really important. I think these next generation, we were talking about this before with Marc-Henri, they can see through the lines, they can read through the marketing, the fake marketing strategies and the bullshit sometimes that surrounds them. And I think this is really important, that brands need to be authentic. They should also be open to criticism, open also to, let's say, mention some bad things that they've done, address it, being really authentic and open about it.
Yeah, you talk about humility.
Yeah, humility is key because
did I pronounce it the right? Okay.
Humility.
He's my teacher. He's my British teacher.
You know, social. We talked about social. We touched on social, and it's been amazing for so many reasons. But social for a brand is really interesting, be it a personal brand or be it a brand of a watch company, because you can get instant feedback. You now more than ever, people are more vocal and prepared to tell you what they think. And we've had a few instances in the watch world in recent years where, well, geez, I'm just thinking about the Patek launch recently. You know, that was a very quick feedback. Initially wasn't a good one, but nonetheless it was there, and that's really interesting. And authenticity, you know, you can see straight through it. When it's from a brand or a person, it's either right or wrong, and you're going to get called up on it. Yeah. So really interesting.
Yeah, you were mentioning humility as well. It's key because that's why it's interesting in watchmaking. If you go in the workshop, you talk to a watchmaker, you see how the human behind it, and there's a huge humility aspect of it all. And sometimes we get completely lost when we only have the marketing messages, or it's the opposite of the people who actually are building the watches. So humility is key as well in the storytelling for the brands, I think.
Yes, it is true. And you talked about watchmaker and going to see them, and how important for you guys today is to promote the watches in real, because we talk a lot about social media. There's a lot about marketing, but marketing and social media is quite flat. So we're in a world today where you go to a flea market, or you visit, you're an expert, you really touch a product. How important for you is to have to touch the watch itself, to work on the physical aspect. Nicolas, for instance, because you work really, with your hands, and you have a publication online. So how can you project that?
Yes, as I used to say, the education, I think, is key, because when you are telling young generations how a thing is being built, how it works, the long history behind it, then you can say, by looking at all the wristwatches today, all the brands, maybe this is like kind of bullshit, maybe this is true. The big thing with watches, like luxury brands today, is to say, we were there first. Like in 1785, we did this, but then when you are looking through the archives, nothing. So you need to put everything in perspective. Search for it. I love the new website called thewatchlibrary.org. You can see all the magazines from the past, and then if you are looking for a watch or an ad in particular, you can see the day it was launched and the criticism at the time. So you need to put everything in perspective. You need to search for everything. You need to educate young people to the techniques, to the history, and then when they are going to see a brand, when they are going to see a watch, they can just learn by themselves and say, this is nice, this is not nice. Like, I think this is the key is to do some educational things before.
But this is like still very quite digital. I know, Maxime, you told me that today there's although everything is going digital, you would go more for the physical aspect and really support, trying on watches.
Yeah, definitely. I think we all have different watches on our wrist, and if you just look at it with the light, just the reason why you need to see them in the flesh. It's just like you cannot, with a picture or with a video or a roll wrist or whatever that Lorenzo loves, you cannot really tell how a watch look and how does it feel. You have it, it's there, it's an object that maybe makes some noise. This one makes some noise. It's kind of comforting. You have to feel it.
Yeah, and don't be afraid. Sometimes what I see is like people are afraid of touching the watches, even though of course there's a lot of money in a small product. But yeah, you have to feel it. I completely agree with Maxime. The human aspect is key, and the physical aspect as well.
Yeah, and I know Justin was really keen on the wearability aspect. And also, it's very important point, the wearability of the watch, and that's what also maybe you can confront them because you have a different point of view when it comes to vintage watches. But wearability is important.
Yeah, I think in some ways it goes to Rolex's success over the generations because their product is so damn wearable. They're so easy to wear. I'm a huge believer in getting hands-on with watches. You've got to get hands-on with them because you don't really, and I would even extend it further to say, if you're able to buy them, it's great to wear and to own for a period of time because you only really understand a watch when you own it, you live with it, you wear it, you travel with it. People tell you, your wife, your husband tells you it's ugly, or whatever it might be. That's when you start to build a picture of it. This watch, this very strange watch on the wrist over here, I'd never tried on before until today. But then once you put it on, you get to have a picture of how it wears. This Lange 1, this case wears so beautifully, but you wouldn't know that through the photos. Recently, I've had a watch in titanium, bracelet and case from Laurent Ferrier, Sport Auto. And that's a watch that on paper is quite big, 41 millimeters. Some people might look at that and say, that's too big for me. But actually, when you wear that thing, I've not taken it off. I've not taken it off for months. And yeah, you've got to wear the watch. You've got to wear it. You've got to try it.
Yeah, I wanted to say the name of a very famous watchmaker, which is just released a very big watch. And apparently people, when they wore it, it wasn't that big. But let's move on.
We can talk about the Cubitus if you want.
Yes.
I've not tried it on, so I feel like I can't comment necessarily, but it's all about proportions, isn't it? It's like design. It's about proportions. And it's the same as clothing. It may well look great on some people. It may well look great on some people. The pushback for me, at least, was that it was maybe a bit lazy. Less about the design of how it wears, but it may have been lazy in the fact that we were waiting so long for something fresh, and we didn't get something entirely fresh. But that's a subject for another time, maybe.
Yes, I think so. I was just trying to be funny. Marc-Henri, you talked about beauty of what I like because you have a very strong aesthetics. You speak a lot about beauty, and we've spoken a lot about history and archives. Are these two things antinomic? Because you consider watches as jewels, as you was telling me, is it antinomic with the history of the background or the techniques?
Well, I guess. Yeah. Yeah. It's just that I really don't like I feel like sometimes it's kind of hypocrite to be like, oh yeah, this watch is really because the story of it and all the things and she's been built this way, and sometimes you just find it beautiful and you, like you say, you try it, you're like, damn, and you just wear it, and I think obviously it is more than that. It's like people, like it's more than just like, oh, she's beautiful or he's beautiful. There's more than that, but the things are gonna make you look at it and maybe want it. It's this. So I don't really like the idea of always trying to be like deep. I think it's gonna make it kind of. It's just sometimes, it is obviously like, I mean, the way I learned about watches before meeting them, that was just literally the way it look. and then I met them, and then they show me more than what it was. In some watch, I get more about, want to know why she look like this, why she make this noise, or why do I need to touch it for it to work, and all these kind of things. And literally this watch, I get attached to it because she's manual, and I got to do it, and I find it fun to be like, just doing it all the time, and she makes some noise. I find it funny, and then I get attached to it.
Yeah.
And some other watch I have is just because they're beautiful. So I don't really like to always try to be like, sorry. The story of it and the movement and all these kind of things and all the, like this guy. But I understand too, like for some people that's what turned them on. So yeah, it's just, different people, different vibe.
So what's your unique point of view? Like, we'll keep on with you. I'll keep you a little bit more. What's your unique point of view? What do you think you're bringing today to the new collectors, speaking to the new generation of collectors, to be really broad? What is your point of view? What are you bringing? How do you feel you reflect, these new consumers? What do you want, or what do you want to portray? And
I think to have grown around Fashion Week.
Yes.
A lot, and communicate about it. It's you always have these things of trying to build community and showing what you see. And the way I capture Fashion Week is really about the shock, the two words: people who are here for work and people who are not here, and seeing what's happening without being here. So I always really want to show the bigger picture to people and not just what they think they're here to see, because it is human at the end of the day. It's human doing business, it's human working, it's human doing things. So I always try to bring it to the more real and natural relation you have with what you have. So with watch, like I just said, for some it's going to be the physical aspect of it, and for some it's going to be the emotional aspect of it. And I just want to bring people to feel like it's just do what is real for you, because the truth is your truth, and it's not always what I'm gonna say or he gonna say. You need to figure it out what is yours, and I think it's really important for people to feel good in something, because we not always have the same road, we're not always going to the same things, and I think that's the way I try to communicate about everything I'm doing most of the time.
So realness and authenticity, and what's for you. Do you relate to that? What's your unique point of view, Maxime?
I think that it's like you can buy a 10 franc watch or a 10,000 francs watch, and it's the same feeling when you're in love with it. Then it's a super cool thing to do, to share with your friends. So I think I'd just say, buy the watch that you like, and the price doesn't really matter. Yeah. Like we all had numeric and analog watches when we were young, and we were just in love with them. G-Shock is a brand as well that we all had and that were part of our life, and I like them as much as I do my Rolex that I have on my wrist. So it's like, just buy the one that you like, and and that's it.
No, but you have a bigger point of view that you're trying to express with Lorenzo through your magazine, the new point of view of you've been quite successful. I would love for you guys to speak a little bit, either one of you or two together, about what you're doing, and because you've been quite successful for the past 2 years. And I think you're really bringing something different, and I would love for you guys to speak a little bit more about this.
Yeah, we could talk about the magazine, but I think it's not necessarily the point here, but it's more about what we were all mentioning today is breaking barriers. It's important, not follow one path. You have to follow yours. That's also what you were mentioning. It's key. Let's not take ourselves too seriously. At the end of the day, the product is not necessarily useful, so it's an emotional product, and you need to relate to it in your own way, and just discover, make mistakes, and that's important, and that's what we want to show as well with our magazine. Is is there's so many different ways to tackle this industry, and we can have fun. It's important. Fun is important as well, because sometimes we're so serious in this watch world, but we don't know necessarily why. I mean, there's a lot of money in this industry, but at the end of the day, it's just a product. So let's have fun. Let's challenge the norms. Let's not take ourselves too seriously, I would say.
Maxime, anything to add? Let's have fun.
I think, definitely. I mean, because
no, but I think it's key. I think it is key.
But also luxury. Some people see luxury as something that has to be super serious and that has to involve like some kind of like leather, a cigar, super expensive champagne. But actually, to me, luxury is like creativity to a point that is like amazing, and it's another entry point that I think brands don't use so much, or even like regular brands. So I would say that like creativity is so key, especially with AI and stuff, and how you control the narrative now. The stories and the creativity will be very key. So I'll say, let's be creative.
Justin, you're.
Yes. I'm just thinking back to Marc-Henri, that moment when he was like, just look at the watch. She's like, yeah.
Your unique point of
Damn. Because that's actually at the end of the day, that's what really matters.
Yes,
you've got to put it on your wrist, and you've got to love it for you. And as much as social media's been amazing, it's amazing, but it's also a little bit dangerous, because you see these hyped up products, you see the same things over and over again, and it makes you think, I need to have this. And actually, that's not true. You need to get hands on with it, and you need to try it, and it needs to be right for you. And that's the tricky part.
That's the tricky part. Nicolas, your unique point of view, what are you bringing? Tell us more. Tell us everything you would like to tell us.
Just relax.
Look at that hair. Look at the hair and the beard combination. That's what he's bringing.
Yes, I'm like the bad teacher, like we need education to educate people, etc., etc. But of course, the first thing is like when you look at a watch and you say, this is for me, and I want this. Either it's like 10 euros or 10K, it's the same feeling, same emotion. And I would say, yes, just relax, because the way of always being serious, like the cold boutique, the same way of speaking, about marketing, about fake history all the time, it's like a bit heavy, and just like bring just joy to people, bring simple emotions. And I think this is first just the product, not the marketing, everything. Just give them the products in hands, and then they can see, they can be creative.
I think community, authenticity were the key words today. Bringing people together, have a sense of relation, have a sense of closeness to the brand as well, maybe for technical reasons, maybe for design reasons, but everywhere it's more passion and bringing the product more rather than the brand itself. And going back also to the roots. Is there anything one of you guys would like to add? Just the closing words? Justin, I feel like...
I'm just trying to think of something really impressive to say that we can close off something wise. No, I think at the end of the day, the amazing thing about watches, for me at least over the last 15 years, is the watches are at the center of the conversation with friends. But it's not everything, and watches bring you together. They bring you together, and that's been amazing. Like we can all talk about the watches that we got on the wrist today, but then you'll start talking about other things that are as important. So watches are a part of the story.
And they brought us together here at Inhorgenta, so that's good as well.
For sure.
I think that's the yes.
Yeah. Yes, and I would say it's going to be very complicated for big and established brands to change. But we have newcomers every day, new brands being created, and they have not the same spirit at all. They are very open, they are very creative, they're very easy and simple to other people, to young people, to Gen Z people, for instance. So yes, it's going to be very complicated for such brands to evolve and to change, but some of them are going to do it well. But like the new brands, the newcomers, they are setting the example, and this is, I think, the good thing for the future.
Maybe something else is also try to go, it goes a bit against what you were mentioning and what we were all mentioning, but try to go where you're not expecting yourself to be as well. So go in the fair in Inhorgenta, go where probably the booth that you probably like the least, to discover the pieces, because that's how you build your taste, that's how you build your relationship with products. So don't necessarily follow the easy routes, I would say.
I didn't say that.
No, I was saying... Generally speaking.
Generally speaking.
I wasn't mentioning you.
Yeah. Thank you, Lorenzo. Thank you so much. Do you have any questions for these guys? Is there any questions? Yes, please. I don't think there's a...
No,
let me do it.
Thank you.
Yes.
I appreciate you coming all the way out here. So I believe that it's quite undeniable that old money fashion has left an incredible mark regarding the choices in clothing for Gen Z. But I might be mistaken. I'm not very well documented.
Can you speak a bit louder?
Yeah, sorry.
No worries.
Should I repeat or?
Yeah, please.
Yeah, sorry. I have this. Whatever. So I believe that it is undeniable that the old money style has left an incredible mark on the choice in clothing for Gen Z. And I was wondering, can we see a similar trend in choice of in watches? Are Gen Z looking from a old money perspective when choosing a watch? Or can we see a tendency going in that way?
Yeah, I think so. I think jewelry watches was a really big thing. We're also like stone dials and so on coming back. But I think the Loro Piana vibe and all those stuff will come back in watches, and maybe people that are super expressive as well will want to have something that will keep for a very long time. So yeah, I think so. I think it will come back.
Yeah, it's always fun to see how it's like in fashion, probably, I guess. It's a circle, so we'll see in 10 years where we'll be, but definitely the old money, depending on how you define it as well, because it's pretty subjective. But yeah, the aesthetic is coming back. More subtle, less showing off, less expressive. But at the same time, I'm sure that in 10 or 15 years, it's going to be the opposite again, so.
Yeah. Another question?
I thought you were going to reply. Well, in terms of time, you can see that from afar, you can really see that they have their own style, so for sure.
Yeah, it's just that I think we see it already because, the vintage watch are heavy right now for a reason, but I mean, they old money. I think this whole thing, and what's funny with it is like the more actually accessible, that's the one it's more easy to see because you go at flea market and all these kind of things, and you talk with the person who have it, and he obviously give all his knowledge about it and when he have it. So I think definitely.
Can I just touch on the case material evolution? Because I'm a huge fan of yellow gold, which I find is sort of old money. And we lost yellow gold in the world of watches for a long time. It was all rose. And I feel I'm excited to see yellow gold come back, which I think it will continue to do in the next few years. Yeah. That's my touch on the old money.
Hi. My question is maybe a bit aggressive, but I would like you to be strong enough to answer it.
He's ready.
Okay. What type of watch is going to disappear, and which one is going to stay, and which one is going to be born?
Do you want names? You want brands or
models and prices and availability where we can get them?
That's a, you want to go?
I think it's just a circle because a few years before people were into like sports watches, steel watches, at Rolex, like Submariners, etc. And these past years, gold watches, for instance, they've been back. And I think 10 years before you were asking someone, do you think gold watches are going to come back? And say no, they are dead. They were not dead. They were just sleeping for a while. But I think it's just a circle all the time. Gold watches and dress watches are coming back right now. Yeah. But I think in a few years we'll get back to the steel and sports watches again. So I don't think we just have to bury watches or bury some watches. It's just it's evolving all the time, but it's not dying.
that's probably the most interesting part of the industry is the variety of design and so on, and the influences they have on each other, and yeah, that's why we shouldn't follow rules like what should be the 3 watches collection, the best 3 watch collection, or so on, or in this price range you need this type of watches. If you're a lady, you need a pink the dial, whatever. I mean, this is probably the worst way to get into watches. So yeah, I mean, things are changing. Just follow what you like, visually speaking, and that's the most important part. Yeah.
I've got to say, I immediately, when you asked the question, I thought of independence. You know, in the last couple of years, independence, particularly high-end independence, they've been gaining momentum, and I can't see that stopping for the likes of the Kari Voutilainens of the world, the Laurent Ferriers of the world, new entrants like who am I thinking of? Berneron, the likes of Sylvain Berneron and others. So independents are going to continue to do really well, I think. But we might lose some as well at the lower end of the market. There's a lot of new brands coming in, and I'm not sure they're all going to survive either.
It's a tough world.
It's probably only the watch that will not sustain time as well. Technology as well will be an interesting part, because smartwatches, obviously, they'll be like, nobody will be able to use them anymore. And probably the products that are manufactured in a very poorly way now will not exist in the future. So I'd say the ones that cannot sustain times, probably.
You just addressed a part of the question I want to raise now. It's the new trend about the smartwatches, or in general to have the electronics on the wrist. How do you deal with that? So I deal with that. I have on the right electronic and on the left mechanics. But maybe this is not typical. How do you think about that?
It's almost not the same thing. You wear one for one reason and the other one for another reason. Yeah. So it will remain the same.
Yeah, it's 2 different products to my eyes. Yeah, you're the perfect example.
Yeah.
I mean, both can work together. For sure, there's a small part of the industry who has been attacked by these smartwatches, but at the end of the day, it doesn't tell the same story. Even for entry price watches, it's not the same. It's definitely 2 different products, I would say.
Well, I think it's sometimes it comes with era, let's say. Sometimes you have this thing. For example, I'm going to be 30 this year, and I feel like, no, this is the year I need to be good on my watch. You know, I need to stop with these electronic things. And then maybe when I'm going to need to run more to not have the belly, I'm going to be like, I need my smartwatch. I mean, it's era all the time. It's never... Yeah. I mean, it's kind of the same question than the other question was. It's nothing really dying. It's sometimes you're in the mood for something and you're not in the mood for... So, yeah.
Putting a mechanical watch on your wrist, though, is the ultimate moment of like relaxation in your day, in the morning, because you're not connected to anything. No one's getting on no one's mum's not calling, boss is not calling, Tinder's not going left, right, and centre. You know, and so I think that's something we're going to chase. I think we're going to chase that simplicity and not move away from it. And I don't think they can interact. I remember IWC about 15 years ago came out with a connected strap, you know, which was way ahead of its time, and it just didn't wear well. No one wanted it, and I just don't think the future's not integrated in that sense. Is my gut take.
And I would add that it's not like a smartwatch is not a watch. It's a connected object, but it would never replace the watch. And we've seen like a few years before when there were like so many new smartwatches on the market, all brands and people were like, maybe it can endanger the mechanical watch and the mechanical watches in general, but it was not the case. So I think it's just like an object when you do sports and when you have your big day and you need to check on mails, etc. But then at the end of the day, in the morning or during the night or at a party, you just want to wear a mechanical watch. And this is the main topic, I think.
And I can't remember who said that. I think it was Jean-Claude Biver, but he said the good thing about smartwatches is that people are starting to put watches on their wrists again. And then it's something that you get used to, and then when you live outside without your watch, you feel naked. So it's actually a good way, and it's 2 different purposes, probably.
Yeah. So keep on wearing your dumb watch.
Any more questions? Oh, yes, please. So many questions. It means it was really interesting. Thank you.
Hello. So, how should brands tackle dupe culture, and is Gen Z brand loyal?
I think
Oh, wow.
you work with the people from the culture as well. You know, like if you want to know what a 17 years old wants to do, to know or to buy, then work with someone that is his age or that is important culture-wise. I think Marc-Henri is someone that I really like when I was young. I don't now that I know him. But no, it's like, you know, you relate to the people that are the same than you. So you need to actually understand the culture, what's happening in the people you want to touch, and then you work with those people. So they're going to challenge you, they think differently, but you have to work with them and trust them. So I would say find the right partners and trust them. It's tough.
Yeah, it's tough because there's so many trend analysts and forecasts and so on. And I think it's dangerous as well to follow only these forecasts or these big companies' trend analysis. But you should definitely embrace the next generation within the brand. This is important as well. Let them speak, let them do some mistakes, and that's how the brand will evolve with the next generations.
And I think it is really important to come to them without make them feel like we're gonna use you.
Yeah.
We know you're the new business. We know you're the new money. So we're gonna do everything to figure out how to, you know, drain you. I think it's really, really important because this generation, like we said during the talk, is really know these things of looking for mistake everywhere, looking for the little things and see between the lines of, or we can see what you're trying to do right now. You know, we also how TikTok was during COVID and how every brand trying to use it, even luxury brand like doing fashion. Just after TikTok doing Fashion Week, you could see big clients not be invited no more to have just like TikTokers coming, doing some dance in front of the Dior show. That was kind of weird. But obviously it's going to be exciting for them, but they get really quickly, oh, you're just trying to use me to, you know, drain me to get all the money out of it. So it's really important to, but I know it's a business, so it's difficult to go like this, but it's really important to come to new clients in a way that they don't feel like you're just here to be taking the money. Even if, it's a business, we need to make money, blah, blah, blah. But I think there is a healthy way to do it. Yeah.
Well, I think it's really last one because I think we have to go after. We're running out of time, but it's fine. Last question.
Hi, thank you. Let's come back to what watches are for. I mean, time, exact time. 6 years ago, my wife offered me slow watch, you know, with just 24 hours. And the question is, because at the end of the day, we talk about exact time. How exact should be the time on the watch? Is it very important to be that exact?
It's always wrong.
Let's ask on this panel whose watch is on time. Mine is not.
Mine is obviously.
How about the date? Is the date window right? No, you don't have a date window.
I don't have a date either.
I don't have a date. Dates are it can be tricky depending on the technology.
Do you know what? Immediately, again, I'm just thinking of a brand in particular here. Ressence from Belgium, independent brand, really interesting brand. His philosophy, the founder, was actually we don't really need to know the minute of the hour. He thinks that you're going to know what hour we're in roughly, but to see that singular hand around the dial gives you a readout of roughly where we are. Yeah. I think we all agree that timekeeping sort of at the bottom, like towards the bottom end of the importance. If you don't love it, if you don't wear it, the time is irrelevant. I mean, what else is there to say? At the end of the day, your phone will be more precise than the most precise watch ever, the most expensive one. It's not necessarily about exact time. It's about what you say, what it tells about you, what it tells about the product, and I think it's. Of course, precision is important. It's part of the storytelling, but it's also again going back to not taking ourselves too seriously. It's also okay not to have your watch perfectly on time and so on.
Well, yes, you want to.
Yes. No, and I think like 95% of watches tells the exact time, and the watches you are like the single hand watches or like independent watches with like a specific way of reading time. they are just like concepts, and they are very nice. But at the end of the day, precision is still important. It was really important during the history of watchmaking, and nowadays, if you want just to see the approximate time, you can buy such a watch. But like 95% of watches like tells the exact time, I would say.
Well, I think now you wanna say something?
Oh, no. Oh, we need to finish, I guess.
Well, I think our time is up. I would like to thank everyone. I hope you had as much fun as I had, and you guys also had fun. And thank you very much for coming and listening and for your attention. And at 2 p.m., we're going to officially open the FHH Cultural Space just behind you. It's really worth it. There's an exhibition on watch artisans and also a few panels about watchmaking knowledge. So it's really worth coming to our booth. And thank you very much. And thank you guys so much for your time. It was amazing. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.